Hello, my name is Amber Hudson. I am the Education Director at First Makerspace, and we are excited to bring this presentation to you today titled 8 Ways That Maker Education Benefits Students, Educators, and Communities. First Makerspace is a company based out of Fishers, Indiana that builds, designs, and sustains makerspaces across the state. We've seen this movement happening really across the country over the last several years, bringing hands-on learning to the classroom. And one of the reasons why we're seeing this interest in making is because it's for everyone. Every student, no matter where you live and no matter what ability you have, can make something. And it's really exciting to watch them develop a sense of pride in what they have made, and the group effort and the work and the collaboration that goes into making in a space just brings joy to teachers that are leading that kind of charge and to the students as well. And that's one of the reasons why making has become so incredibly exciting and a passion of many across the country. I want you to think about the last time that you made something. If we were able to be all together, I would ask some of you to share and think about something that you've made. And when you ask that question, it's very broad because it could have been dinner that you made last night. It maybe was a step stool that you made in shop class back in 1956. So many of us are makers naturally. We don't even realize or think about the benefits of the time that we spend making something. But whether you're into painting or drawing or working with clay, we have so many makers out there, and we return to it over and over again because of the value that it brings to our life. So think about that within the classroom as well with students who are making on a regular basis. Here's my next question. If you had a secret method to keeping kids engaged in learning, wouldn't you use it? And we have found, talking to teachers across the state, that making in a makerspace is exactly that. You will not get more engaged students than when their hands are involved and their brains are activated and they are learning through maker education. It is the method. So let's talk about what maker education is. It's obviously hands-on. It's a hands-on approach to learning. It's the mentality of using your hands to connect your brain and your hands together to create an outcome. They're making. Students are making. They're using things to make things. Sometimes whatever they've made does something, which is really exciting. It's an opportunity for students to lead. It's an opportunity for them to develop creative confidence and to apply the core content skills that they've learned into a place that maybe they don't often get a chance to, tying those cross-curricular connections together. So today our focus is going to be on 8 ways that maker education benefits students, educators, and communities. So let's jump in to the first of these 8 ways that we're going to talk about today. The first one is that maker education provides a playground for students to practice and develop employability skills. Maybe you've heard these 21st century skills or soft skills. Regardless of the name, this idea of problem solving and communication and time management and perseverance are all skills that we develop as we're aging and growing up that are used for the rest of our lives. And so think about the idea of making something in a makerspace brings all of those skills together. Whether students are designing something in Tinkercad that they're going to build on a 3D printer, or using a piece of cardboard to create a guitar with circuitry that's actually going to play sounds. There's so much that goes into making that is a future skill that's going to be something that will be valuable to these students forever. The curriculum that we have created at First Makerspace, which you can find on our website, has lesson after lesson after lesson built around employability skills and the idea of making something. It's just a fantastic benefit to this space we call Makerspace. The second benefit of maker education is that it exposes students to a variety of STEM careers. Many students are familiar with your typical jobs, and they want to grow up to be a firefighter or an NBA player. They may not realize that there are specific careers directly related to the things that they're doing within their makerspace. The hands-on learning that they're actually doing can be lead to a job as a mechanical engineer or civil engineer. There's so many jobs and careers out there that are tied to making that just opens and broadens a student's horizon to their future possibilities. The next benefit of maker education is that it's cross-curricular in nature, and it deepens the content knowledge in English language arts and math. A study done by Wilson, Taylor, Kowalski, and Clarkson in 2009 found that students who were taught using inquiry-based methods performed significantly better than students receiving regular instruction. Additionally, those students who were taught with commonplace teaching methods had gaps in their knowledge, either by race or those who were taught using non-inquiry based methods. Makerspaces are not just bonus or extra spaces. We tend to hear that sometimes, but more and more schools and communities are recognizing the value in bringing all of those subject areas together to complete some maker projects that just continue to develop out that connection between the brain and the hands. One of the best benefits I've seen from maker education is that it provides an opportunity to partner with the workforce, community organizations, and nonprofits within a community. Schools are constantly looking for ways to connect real life, real world examples for their students, and makerspaces are a great way to do that. Whether you're having volunteers come to the classroom to share about their workforce experience, community organizations coming to be guest speakers, or vice versa, having students that are creating projects within a makerspace share those within a Shark Tank type presentation with community organizations. It benefits back and forth, and students begin to understand and see that there is a direct connection between what they're doing and what their parents are doing or what they see people doing as they drive through town. And it only benefits both those students and those community organizations. Most of the efforts in workforce development are geared towards skilling adults or providing adults with the skills that they need. But if you think about it, really, if those skills begin with kindergartners and third graders and fifth graders, it really is only going to benefit everyone in the future as they continue to develop those employability skills. The next benefit is that the future of manufacturing in the USA is dependent on makers. 3D printing has completely redefined the additive manufacturing process over the past few decades, and schools now have access to that same technology. We see 3D printers in makerspaces across the state. And so introducing students to prototyping and production in these maker education projects is just engaging the students and creating this connection to academic content that will produce the future manufacturers in our country. The next benefit of maker education is that teaching in a makerspace is really fun for educators. Personally, just being an educator who taught in a makerspace, I enjoyed every part of it. I enjoyed creating the projects that were going to be completed by students. I enjoyed watching their faces light up when they knew they were coming into the makerspace to do an activity. The questions and the facilitation of conversations that came watching students try to problem solve through something that was rather challenging was joyful for me. It's just a fun environment. It's not your typical classroom. Students are busy and they're moving and they're collaborating, and that just makes for a fun environment for an educator to teach in. The next benefit of maker education is that aligns with social and emotional learning. Today's students are coming to class with baggage that some of us find unimaginable. And that in itself makes for a challenging environment to try to learn in. If students have developed this knowledge of problem solving and communicating with one another in a makerspace, it naturally lends itself to their ability to communicate when they're dealing with something difficult. And I think we're seeing more and more of that critical thinking and that mindset being developed that as difficulties come, whether they're in the classroom or whether they're at home, I can work through those with a maker mindset. The final benefit of maker education is that students enjoy learning in a makerspace. As I just mentioned how enjoyable it is for an educator, it's also the same enjoyment provided for a student that has the opportunity to make with their hands. It's different. It's thinking differently. It's working through problems and connecting a challenge of some sort to a physical object that they get to make. And the steps of that become very exciting. And that joy that comes from making something, the joy you felt when you thought about what you made at the very beginning of this presentation, is what our students are feeling in these maker spaces. And so why would we not want every student to have that opportunity? So continue with this idea of maker education in our buildings. Here's what I want to leave you with today as you're thinking about the idea of maker education and whether or not it would be beneficial to bring into your own building or community. Think about our students that are first graders today. What will they need to be prepared for the road ahead? And if you really truly want to prepare them, think of all of the things that we've talked about, the employability skills, the idea of being able to handle crisis, through collaboration and problem solving and communication. The idea of having fun at school, enjoying what you're doing. These cross-curricular connections, being able to connect math and language arts to what I'm doing in my history class and by building something to show what you've learned. All of those skills are what's going to prepare those first graders for the future. And it really is exciting to think about. As you continue thinking about this idea of maker education and you have any questions about what goes in a makerspace, how do you start the process of getting a makerspace, feel free to reach out to Mary or myself. We'd be happy to help you in any way that we can with the development of your space, with answering questions. Every makerspace is more than a room with tools. And that's what we want you to consider and think about as we leave today. It's a place where creativity takes flight and students get to discover their passions. So start thinking about what your future passions look like within your building or community. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share with you.